Alright, so we're back from the phone call. I know that first video was getting a bit long anyways. Probably made sense to stop as we got to about the half-hour mark. We are gearing up this battle, March 17th, 1861. We know the Union is coming in from the top right. I've played this, I think I've had this happen to me before. I see that there's this blue star here too. I think they may actually march along the unfinished railroad, and so kind of want to deploy here. What I think they may do is come in from the top, and if they change their mind or if they come in a different way this time, they're probably going to come down this road and maybe try to take the fort. So I'm thinking we want to deploy so that we can hold, probably get up to about, maybe have Matthews Hill anchor our right, and maybe we'll hold back to Sudley's Church. We're going to find out soon, because what we're going to do is we're going to send out a ton of skirmishers to find them. No, 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 no. Lawton, you're not going anywhere. But your skirmishers are. I'm sure the devs are working on this, but I think the AI just has a lot of trouble. Anderson, just your skirms. They tend to hold up the AI's advance. There are a lot of easy things. Sometimes the AI will make the common sense choice to send out their own skirmishers, which is probably one of the better ways to deal with skirmishers if you can't get a cav charge in them through a field. Alright, for some reason we have both batteries on the right. I don't want both batteries on the right. I do want... you know, it's probably just not worth it. So we're just going to go ahead and start it. I'm going to generally move the army up to where I think, where I think they need to be, which is right there. We'll find out for sure in a little bit. There aren't that many likely directions they will go, but we'll send them in most, because sometimes they do get the slip on me. So we'll try to make sure there are no surprises. Okay, we can get moving a little faster here. I think Ewell might have teleported. Either that or that was just uncommonly responsive. I think he teleported. I think that is a bug that I've experienced before, where sometimes the skirmishers will just jump to where you want them to move, which is great, but not intended. We should make sure we go right, because I did play this map once. Union came in on this top right side, and they actually took this road down. Well, I didn't get too far because I set everything up here and blasted them when they came out, but that could be another instance of that. Nope. Okay, we're gonna slow it down because we found them. We don't really need to get back there. Actually, we can get a skirmish going on here unless they get their arty out. They were about 10,000 in number. This may not be all of them, but I found that they rarely significantly split their forces. They tend to generally move together. Yeah, and you can see the rest of them now following in at the top. So we know where they are. Seem to more or less have guessed right on where they were going to go. And the question is, where do we set up? If we can, I would like to get my forces into something like that. I'd like to get that arty on both sides, but I can still live with that as something. And you can hear the guns are going, so they're still just kind of marching. Now those are the batteries. Not sure why they're still just marching. Guys, I would not stay there too long. We'll put these guys on lay down in the hopes that we get shot less, because I did decide to have them stand in an open field against an enemy battery. Let's see the rest of the forces filing in behind them. We'll keep an eye on the casualties there for Ewell. If they're too significant, just pull them back. I mean, I do still want them to advance forward, but I'm trying to use the skirmishers to get them to stop marching long enough that I can get my forces into place. Still moving a bit slow. Still only reading 3 casualties. I'll assume that's correct. I think sometimes the reported casualties on the enemy side are just a bit late. And I guess we didn't lay down fast enough, because that time we got blasted. Took 6 casualties. There you go. Now I would get that, and that's why we took 15 casualties that time. Okay, we got another skirmisher group here. Since they're not moving up to support their artillery, I'm just gonna pick them apart. If we get the range advantage on these guys while we have them moving out across an open field, it's gonna be a bad day for their forces. They're already outnumbered. We're not fighting them in a choke point battle. Well, I'm not taking a choke point position, but yeah, we don't have to have these guys kneeling until they turn the guns to face them, so we'll do that. Yeah, we got some forces that are still way back there, but the point of all this was to slow the advance. The rest of their infantry and cavalry are taking their sweet time, and there you can see they jumped up to 43 casualties. I don't know if they actually jumped up or if they were finally catching up. The casualty count was catching up with what had earlier been inflicted. So we're going to switch these guys onto their infantry. I'm not that worried about their artillery rallying. I mean, if they do, they do, but they're going to be pretty fragile. And they'll probably break again. And yeah, they haven't... Okay, so they actually used a detachment of skirmishers. That was a good call. It's what they should do. What I may do here is jump down, because they're already within range. You know, when you lay down, you lose range. You're basically trading range for cover. And if they're close enough, see, they're even laying down, they're still going to be well within range. And they're not even returning fire at this point. So they say no casualties. That's probably not right. And so we'll engage them as they come. The indicator here at the top says I've already won a major victory. I doubt it. 2 to 1 killed. Not really major victory, but So Yule's detachment is racking up the casualties. At this point, I'm going to pull them back. It's not worth them getting routed. None of this stuff is. And I'd rather have them pull out, recover, and be able to use them later on than get routed now. And honestly, one of the reasons you use skirmishes is to try to pull the army apart that's attacking you. You don't want to attack them head on. You want to fall back at an angle far from where they want to go. So they have a choice either to chase you and not get where they need to be, or they don't chase you and you shoot them in the flank and everything else. Okay, turn around. Keep turning around. Yeah, we'll do that. We should. Yeah, these guys have not been engaged yet. Oh no, don't move up. That is a terrible idea. One of the glitches I've found, though it doesn't usually happen to skirmishers, is that units that are taking fire will not... Whoa, what are you doing? Terrible idea. Terrible idea. You need to pull way back until you figure out how to do this. Get you guys back across the water. We're starting to file in. Skirmishers do tend to level up pretty quickly. I don't really know the purpose of giving them elite skirmishers, because what the description says is that it makes the unit really good at hiding, and I haven't necessarily found that to be true, and I'd rather take accuracy, which I can understand what the advantage there is. Yule's detachment is confident in spite of their casualties. We'll see whether that confidence endures into combat. All right. So they're a long ways from our lines, not making much progress. And my arty still has to make it through. This is a slow go, if I recall. Getting down here, getting up this hill, getting down here, following the road around. But the arty is scheduled to deploy, I believe, over here, so that's not terrible. I do like that these skirmishers, I don't recall this happening frequently in the past, but these skirmishers kind of know what to do. They're not letting the infantry get within melee range. They're pulling back and firing. They're not taking fire in exchange. That's kind of everything you would ask skirmishers to do. Confident. Let's give them an accuracy boost, since they're not really going to be in melee that much. Let's make their small numbers punch above their weight. I believe last time we had too many infantry on the right, not enough on the left. So some of that infantry I'm going to move over to here. Eul's detachments get an upgrade. And skirmishers, at least so far, do not keep their perks beyond the battle they're in. I mean, the other ones, engineering's not going to do us any good now. Zouaves, yeah, I guess you would think in fast movement would be the one. Spirited charge, not going to be charging them. Deadly volley, they usually fire at will. Ace of spade, they're moving usually a little too much. Iron discipline's not terrible. It's never bad to have good morale, but it doesn't seem all that important to skirmishers, who shouldn't be taking many casualties if you're doing the right thing with them. Clearly I'm not with those. Those guys are getting chewed up. I think at this point I'm playing the game not the way the devs intended. They did not want this to be a click fest. A lot of micromanaging, but I think one of the things that's nice about the game is that even though they don't necessarily think that that's how it should be played, they're going to let the player choose what they want to do. And they're not going to substitute their judgment for the player's judgment, and I think that that's commendable. So we routed off 4th Brigade. Looks like they lost a quarter of their initial strength. Up, and now we routed off the 3rd Brigade. Up, and they pulled back. You're all literate people, but the bottom line is that's greater than 10-to-1 casualties. In fact, I'm not sure how 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 67. 750 plus 10 does not equal 850, but nonetheless, you get the idea. It was not terribly close. We went in with even numbers, and that battle was basically won by skirmishers. 5 skirmishing units. The actual battle line hadn't deployed. If they had, it would have been a complete catastrophe. But then again, it's McDowell, and I think he already has a middle name, but it could be catastrophe too. So okay. Yeah, 113 killed on their end to 23 killed on. So it wasn't as bad. It wasn't 10-to-1, but there it is. And so one of the other things I forgot to mention, and sure it won't work now that I'm mentioning it, is that in the previous version there's this bug where if the army was set to offensive stance and it came into combat range of an enemy army, it would instead encamp. And so in the last campaign I played, I started, let's get some beats going here. I started switching to defensive, and then they almost engaged, I would say, probably not every time, but almost every time. It gave me a lot more manual fight battles, which is what I wanted, because I don't trust the AI, but I do trust myself to get better results than the AI is going to get on average. Kind of got to be a little careful here. What I'm trying to do is engage the Army of Northern Virginia without clipping this fort that the cursor's over. Let's see. Okay, we are playing slowly out here. But there is a fort here, and the reason is that at this point in the game's development, the forts have ungodly powerful forces. Not in terms of numbers, they're only usually 100, 200 or something like that. But for whatever reason, when you end up in an auto-resolve, even if you have 10,000 men and 60 guns, you'll get a 50% chance of winning, and you will win probably 0% of the time. Union invasions, yeah, they're going to tell us about this one over here in the peninsula, the Department of Virginia. 1,000 men, I'm not worried about it. I'm more worried about the Fort Monroe garrison with its 100 troops than I am with the Department of Virginia and 1,000. So I'm going to get these guys in defensive stance. Okay, so they retreated, they being the Army of Northern Virginia. Following their loss, we've gone up and taken Frederick, Maryland. There is a fort here I want to avoid. Wait, I guess it's down here now. Fort Stevens. But I want to try to go north of Baltimore. I don't know if that's going to do it. But that's the idea, at least. And we'll check on everybody else. Wow. Okay, so Florida has almost its whole army. Beauregard here, kind of in the middle of not where he wants to be. That's not a place, but... So, in his army, looks like it's going to be complete soon. So I'm okay with ordering them to move on. Lexington. And we'll see where that gets us. Okay, I'm trying to sneak in here to get the Army of the Potomac to maybe take Alexandria without engaging the forts. That would be good for me. Going a bit slow here. We'll see if I can sneak up Hampton's division to get in touch with the Department of Virginia. I don't mind fighting them, but I don't really want to fight the fort. So, because I don't believe I can. That's not true. Actually, in previous campaigns, you sometimes do have the option to manually conduct the assault, but the assault's not on the fort; it's outside of it. In which case, it's your army against very, very few of the defenders. I'm going to pause because... Oh, no. Okay. So, there was a bug I started experiencing at the end of the last campaign where it would unselect your policies after you selected them. And if that's back, not going to give up, but we're probably not going to be able to go that far. Once you get the Militia Act, it's tempting to go forward to the second one. If you think, though, that you're going to go with the Conscription Act, so you're going to do Military 2 and you're going to get the Conscription Act, it doesn't really make sense to choose Militia Act 2 and 3, because the Conscription Act is going to do that for you. And by choosing these earlier, in theory, because I'm not sure if it shows up in the numbers, it's going to depress volunteers. And so, yeah, it's backhanded, but whatever. You know, promise them, all right, no more than 1 year contract. That should be okay. And then later you sneak in the Conscription Act, and it turns out there are actually 3-year recruits. So that's the plan for now anyways. Again, none of these campaigns have really gone more than, I think the last one, I let it go to early July, but for other reasons it was basically done in mid-June. I know that this episode's also getting a bit long in the teeth, and we're kind of in a lull waiting for some units to show up, and me waiting to see if this policy bug is back or if I just made a mistake. So I think I'm going to end this one here, and when we pick up next time, we will resume the 1861 campaign. All right, until then, take it easy.